What's up, everybody? Ryan Michael Ballo here to do a nootropics review on Adrafinil. Adrafinil is a prodrug of modafinil. Once you take it, it will convert through the first pass in the human liver to modafinil. The conversion seems to be 3-to-1. So if you want to get a targeted quantity of modafinil, let's say 50 milligrams is sort of the half of the regular dose, and for some people 50 milligrams works great, then you would essentially dose with Adrafinil times 3. So you take your 50 milligram targeted quantity of modafinil, multiply that by 3, and get 150 milligrams of Adrafinil. That is the template to use. So you could apply that in different dosages. If you wanted to reach the targeted outcome of 100 milligrams of modafinil, then you would take 300 milligrams of Adrafinil. The very simple template is targeted quantity of modafinil times 3 equals your quantity in milligrams of modafinil. Let's talk about how I took it. I have a capsule maker at home, 00 capsules, and I got bulk powder from Powder City. I got 2 5-gram bags, I think, for a total 10 grams. And I got some measuring spoons in a capsule maker, and I just made the capsule. The onset for me, I took it down. I didn't eat anything for breakfast at the time. It was somewhere around 8 in the morning. The onset for me was about 35 minutes. I feel like after 25 minutes, I actually started to feel wakefulness, a little bit of wakefulness coming on. But right at the 35-minute mark exactly, I started to feel this sort of extra wakefulness that felt like I had slept for like a long time. I actually did a Reddit post on this in the Afanil, in our Afanil, and basically said like I felt like I slept 20 hours in a temperature controlled environment in total darkness with an angel like breathing on my face to make my sleep more restorative. It was like pretty amazing. I also felt super aware at the time and just focused. I had this kind of honing in of focus at the time, and this was only 35 minutes in. At the hour point, the 1 hour point from when I took it, this is when things really started to get interesting, because I was en route to a restaurant to go eat some food, and I was on the phone with the parts vendor for one of my companies talking about some sort of issue we were having, and I noticed that my verbal fluency really stepped up a notch. It's like it stepped its game up pretty significantly. While this was happening, the amplitude of the wakefulness and the awareness and the focus capacity totally like ascended to this level that I really am not familiar with. I mean, I take stimulants and I fuss with a lot of nootropics and different smart drugs, and I've also been making a stack, and I've come up with a stack that is pretty similar to what people explain the Afanils to do to them, but it contains caffeine among some other nootropics, so it's stimulatory. But the effect of the wakefulness that I got from the Adrafinil dosage was some other thing. I mean, I was awake and focused, and my brain was functioning well, but without that stimulatory effect. I went to this restaurant, which I frequent all the time, and I busted my laptop out to work, which is what I do when I go there. I go to like restaurants, and like I'm always the guy that busts out the laptop and sit there and works and eats at the same time. I kind of like doing that. And I gotta say that my focus capacity when I was sitting down doing work was like that of no other nootropic compound that I've ever really put together or taken individually, and it was pretty amazing. I just sat down, and there was really no distractibility, which is an amazing thing to get from a nootropic. 0 distractibility. You couldn't call my name and get me to stop focusing on what I was doing. Like, I just wanted to focus. My focus was very singular and very sort of directed toward what I wanted to get done. I also felt like because my speed of processing was a lot faster, my capacity to, I was doing a lot of writing at the time, my capacity to just sort of synthesize stuff from my head to the written word, typing on my MacBook was a lot quicker. Interesting subtle benefits from it that I was noticing, like the waitress came to my table and I was very quickly able to make the decision on what I wanted. She came to the table, picture this, she came to the table and gave me the menu, or the menu was there, and suddenly she says, "What do you want for a drink?" And I got some iced tea. She walked away. She said, "Do you know what you want for, to eat?" And I had just gotten there, so I didn't know what I wanted yet. But I said to her, "No, but I will know what I want when you come back." And I was sure that I would, because I would just once over the menu find something that works and make the decision. Whereas I'm not the indecisive type, because I'm a business guy. I like to make decisions. That's my way of thinking. But when it comes to 1,000 things on the menu that all look good, especially in the morning, like a waffles or pancakes or something, or like a huge omelet with bacon or whatever and toast, kind of I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. There's so many good things. I want all of it. Instead of that happening, though, she came back with the iced tea, and sure enough, I'm like, I want a garden omelet. Let's do it. And it was a very quick exchange, and I attribute my speed of processing, my ability to make that decision and be comfortable with it, definitely to the brain state that I was in as a result of taking the Adrafinil. Now, I think it's important to note that I didn't take any stimulants, no caffeine, no other nootropics, and I didn't even do anything else that would otherwise make my brain function good. I slept 6.5 hours uninterrupted, which is pretty good for me, but I didn't meditate. I didn't take my normal stack of like Cortex or Cortex Gen 2 or Cortex variants or Mr. Happy variants. And, I just didn't do anything else that would have made my brain function optimally. A lot of people report side effects or anxiety as being one of the potential side effects of taking Adrafinil, and I didn't have any of those. And that's because I took a low dose. I took a dose that was equivalent to 50 milligrams of modafinil to start out. And I think that that's a great idea. If you want to start on some new smart drug or nootropic, don't take the highest dose. Start with the lowest dose so that you can gauge the effects and work your way up. There are a lot of people for whom 150 milligrams of Adrafinil are going to be perfect for them. And there are also people that 150 milligrams of Adrafinil are actually going to be too much for them. And so it's good to start low. I started low, and that's probably why I didn't have side effects when it onsetted, but it was affecting me an hour and a half later, and throughout the course of the rest of the day, I had 0 side effects. Okay, fast forward to about 5 hours after the onset, and in between, let me just talk about in between. In between, the effects might have dropped off 10 to 20%, essentially every hour and a half, probably, or with the wakefulness agents, elements still being there, my verbal fluency still being pretty maxed. I even noticed a working memory benefit because I'm always having to engage in working memory intensive tasks for one of the companies that I own. And all that stuff kind of was present the whole time, and just in a sort of descending way very slowly as the hours went on. But all of the functional components that I explained in the beginning that were optimized as a result of taking Adrafinil were still there, and I was still getting a mighty benefit out of it, and it was helping me to run my company. The effects started to really taper off to the point where they were essentially non-existent, maybe a titch above baseline at about 5 hours. Right at 5 hours after administration, the effects started to taper off for me. For people that take higher doses, it's probably going to last a lot longer for you. I would imagine if I took, let's say, like the recommended dose for Adrafinil, which is 350 milligrams, or correction, 300 milligrams, that's what the Powder City package recommends, then it probably would have lasted a lot longer. But for the first time trying it, I really didn't want to overdo it. I didn't want to put myself in a place where I was in a state, in case I had some anxiety or in case I had some sort of side effect from it, where I couldn't control the state for a long period of time. So 5 hours, a drop off after 5 hours, or really a nice dissension back into baseline was the ideal target for me. Which brings me to the next delightful element of the experience, which is that after it stopped affecting me, essentially the dissension back to baseline was not a significant drop off at all. My baseline is regularly pretty optimized, and so I'm functioning pretty good as it is. I can definitely tell that the Adrafinil is not affecting me as it was earlier, but the transition from that great brain function, from that super wakefulness and extra laser focused state and that hyper awareness to my regular baseline just sort of slowly tapered off through the hours, and now I'm back to baseline and I feel pretty damn good. So there are some warnings about Adrafinil out there. There's a whole lot of anecdotal reports of liver enzymes being elevated from people taking it, because there is a conversion process in the liver to modafinil when you take Adrafinil. But there's a study on examine.com under the toxicity section of the page that explains all the mechanistic explanations. There was a study citing a 3-month experiment with rodents taking Adrafinil where there were no toxicity, liver enzymes elevated, or otherwise toxic effects reported. So I would say approach with caution. Just because we can't find papers that say or that demonstrate in some sort of clinical setting that, big ass truck driving by, that there's toxicity doesn't mean that there might not be, and that doesn't mean that there might not be some elevation of your liver's enzymes in response to it. And so I would say take heed, use it responsibly, and if you're like me and you really like to want to know, just hunt for as much research as you can and just sort of do an assessment of the anecdotal experiences out there. But I would say if you need to use the drug sparingly, or if you need to use the drug every now and then to get a great boost, to have improved wakefulness, improved focus, improved speed of processing, and a great ability just to attack the sort of brain work that you might want to attack if you're doing something that requires a lot of intensive cerebral stuff, Adrafinil, is a pretty cool tool to have in the arsenal for certain applications. So overall, it was a really interesting experience. I can't compare it to much of anything else except for the intensified version of the Cortex Gen 1 stack, which will be essentially the basis for Gen 2 stack, minus the stimulatory effect, because there's going to be, the caffeine molecule is going to be in that stack. And again, like I said before, this was a very kind of stimulating effect, or it was, I got the same brain performance and functional improvements as I might with a massively stimulatory stimulatory stack that also has some nootropics in it without the actual stimulation. It was weird. You don't have that stimulant feeling. So it's a very delightful experience in that regard. And that's it, folks. That is Adrafinil. Soon we're going to be doing a review on Noopept nasal spray that we got from Limitless Life Nootropics here. And a lot of people talking a lot of good stuff about this, so I'm really excited about this. We'll do a review about that pretty soon. I'll have this up sometime in the next week for sure, so look for that. By the time you're watching this, it's probably already up, so go search for it and find it. This should be really interesting. I'm a huge fan of Noopept. If you've not tried the Cortex Generation 1 nootropic stack, snag yourself a bottle at livecortex.com. That's our stack that I made after 1.5 years of working on it, from the time that I thought that I wanted to do this, really the time that I started working on the stack until production of the bottles. That stack combines uridine monophosphate, CDP choline, artichoke extract, and Bacopa monnieri for a super synthesized, super balanced nootropic stack that offers a great focus capacity, a great enhancement of your ability to sit down and do some work, great verbal fluency benefits, great working memory benefits, and one of the major reports that users have reported so far is an increase in mental energy and motivation, which is really cool coming from a nootropic. So grab a bottle of Cortex on the livecortex.com website. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you liked the video. We got way more content to crank out, but it's going to keep coming. It's going to keep coming. I love the fact that more people are subscribing. I love all of you. Please comment in the comment section. I will respond. And thanks for watching.